America, we are lucky today. We're lucky in a way perhaps difficult for us all to see. We're lucky because we're not in a civil war right now. There are no makeshift field hospitals in Virginia filled with wounded boys who haven't even shaved yet. Toward the end of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln visited a 200-acre field hospital in Virginia, personally attending to thousands of wounded men who had seen hard fighting. Some of the patients were missing limbs, some were blind, some were scrawny with disease, and many of them were dying. And some were so young that Lincoln openly shook with sobs. One of these soldiers recalled that President Lincoln, quote, had a kind word for all of us. His voice, said an onlooker, was subdued. His eyes were mild but all-observing. The close grasp of his hand attested the sympathetic great-heartedness of this great man. Another soldier said that the president walked down the long aisle between the rows of cots and spoke to and shook hands with every man in the ward. It was that handshake that I have always considered the greatest honor that ever came to me. A doctor in the hospital said that Lincoln's visit was a green spot in the soldier's anguished days. In one tent, Lincoln encountered a Confederate, a member of the opposing army, and here's what the Confederate wrote about that encounter. Quote, he halted beside my bed and he held out his hand. Looking at him in the face as he stood with extended hand, Mr. President, I said, do you know to whom you offer your hand? I do not, he replied. Well, I said, you offer it to a Confederate colonel who has fought you as hard as he could for 4 years. Well, says he, I hope a Confederate colonel will not refuse me his hand. No, sir, I replied, I will not. And I clasped his hand in both of mine. America, we are lucky today. We're lucky in a way perhaps difficult for us all to see. We're lucky because we're not in a civil war right now. We are, as I have said, in what may be called a cold civil war, and we need to stop our fighting. We need to stop the relentless bickering, the judging, the hating, and extend to each other a new handshake of reconciliation. If that assassin's bullet on July 13th in Pennsylvania had found its mark, the cold civil war that we're now immersed in could have gone hot. Not only President Trump, but maybe even our entire republic had a close brush with death. And a brush with death reminds us of what is precious. It reminds us of the preciousness of our loved ones and of life itself. And in this case, it recalls us to what is precious about our country. What is this experiment that we call America? For all of its dark chapters, the genocide of Native Americans, Jim Crow, slavery, imperialism abroad, and so on, America has also pursued its originating ideal of liberty and justice for all. That ideal is written into our nation's Constitution and into our DNA. Our ancestors did not come to this country merely to survive. They came to America, the very archetype of a great nation. The best republics will be virtuous, John Adams said. And elsewhere, Adams wrote that public virtue is the only foundation of republics. There must be a positive passion for public good established in the minds of the people, or there can be no Republican government, nor any real liberty, he wrote. A generation later, Ralph Waldo Emerson, our great philosopher, said, the power of love as the basis of a state has never been tried. There is no way to enforce such virtues. Our founding documents, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, can inspire civic virtue, but in the end, it's really up to us to choose it. Again and again, we must realign ourselves with the founding spirit of our nation. Now, in particular, is such a time. Are we willing to extend a hand across the divide? Are we ready to renew ourselves as one nation indivisible? I believe that we are, and I believe that process, the process of reunion of our nation, has already begun. That's what my presidential campaign is about. The goals of ending wars, reversing chronic disease epidemics, restoring the middle class, getting corruption out of Washington, and so forth are important, but they're not the deepest core of why I'm here. Because a nation divided cannot accomplish any of these things. I'm here to bring unity to our country to the best of my ability as I serve all of these other goals. And that's what I'm going to continue to do with your help.